Welcome to Internally Guided Life, a podcast to help you unlock a life of balance, fulfillment, and joy. I'm Kayla Sweet, and together we are going to have fun and create change from the inside out. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back, my friends. We are here for another nourishing episode of Internally Guided Life. We are always here to talk about what really matters in life, what matters emotionally, mentally, and within our soul, like the deep stuff that really helps us to honor this human life. And today will be no different. We have an amazing guest joining us, and our topic, I think, is going to really resonate with anyone who's ever felt disconnected, uncertain of themselves, unsure if they were really walking in alignment with their truth or their purpose, or not even really sure where to start because they're just, stuck in self-abandonment, which I know I spent plenty of my own years in those places. So if any of that resonates with you, this episode is going to be so, so nourishing. Our guest today is Tara Wiskow. She is a life reinvention expert. I just love that title. It's just so phenomenal. Who doesn't need a life reinvention expert in their life? She's also the creator and founder of the She Rises program, which is so phenomenal. And we will be talking a little bit about that today as well. But she has overgone a amazing personal transformation, healed years of trauma, underwent a profound weight loss journey, and now guides women to break free from self-sabotage, reclaim their voice, and really claim who they were always meant to be and awaken that fire within. So, we are going to try to explore as much as we possibly can in our time together in the realms of identity shifts, healing, worthiness, and self-belief. With that, welcome, Tara. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Kayla. I'm so excited to be here and thank you for allowing me to step into this space with you as well as your listeners.
Well, I speak for all of us. Me, I'm by myself right now, but I feel like everyone's with me. Are so excited. I think this topic in particular, when we're thinking about worthiness and self-belief, is just one that, we all have to have our own reckoning with at some point in our lives. Some of us are lucky enough to do that reckoning process maybe earlier, and others it takes a long time to get there, or there are many, many layers and many cycles of reckoning with how we can really love and claim our worth in this life when there's so many obstacles that make us feel unworthy. So, so important. And I think you're the perfect guest to guide us through this. And I want to give you a moment to share a little bit more of your story. I gave a few highlights in the introduction, but tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're about in this world.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. So, as you said, I'm a life reinvention expert, and that comes from my journey of transformations of many identity shifts throughout many years. I should say my journey really started of healing 17 years ago. And I want to also say that in addition to being a life reinvention expert, I'm also an intuitive healer. And I step into the space of helping women to heal internally in order to rise, as which is why I have my program She Rises. So back to 17 years ago, which is where my journey started of actually beginning to heal myself. And when I say that, I had no idea what I actually was doing for myself. I didn't realize the magnitude of the healing that would come from the decision that I made on that day that I was determined to end my life. And the reason why I got to that place of desperation of wanting to no longer be here is I struggled with what we women struggle with so prevalently in our lives, and that is not being able to be enough, not being able to be who we thought we need to be or should be or have to be. And I felt like no matter what I tried to lose weight, to be good enough, to make the changes that I knew were important for me to make in order for me to be the woman that I wanted to be, but who I needed to be for my three boys after going through a divorce and becoming a single mom. And so, after so many attempts of trying to lose the weight and change my life and make the shifts and become somebody better, and I never was able to actually cross that off as an accomplishment, ending my life became the only outlet that I could find that made sense. And having my middle son save my life by stopping me and asking me, "Are you going to die, mama?" brought me into a realization of having a choice. Knowing, hearing him ask that question was there was a yes or a no.
Mm.
And I was able to decide in that moment what the result was going to be. What did I want? I had a choice. I did not realize in that moment until that moment that I had a choice, that I could choose different if I wanted. And also in that moment, I realized as I heard this voice in my head say, "Tara, you have got to find a way to love yourself as much as you love your boys. That's your way out." And Kayla, I had never seen love as a way out of a situation of struggle. I had used hate, I'd used hurt, I struggled with anorexia, bulimia. I was starvation, deprivation, doing all things that were hurting me and damaging me and putting me further into this place of despair. But never once did I ever try to love myself in order to heal myself or correct the situation that I wasn't happy with. And so 17 years ago, that starting of loving myself and holding space for the beautiful woman that I was, even though when I looked in the mirror at 338 pounds, I wasn't in love with who I saw. I wasn't in love with who I was showing up as, but I had to learn to love her for who she was, with all of her flaws and all of her struggles and all of her imperfections. I had to love every bit of her because I realized that that was the way out. That was how I was going to get from point A to point Z. And so that's where the journey started, and I began the process of affirmations and applying things that actually were helpful and actually were healthy, and led me to a 220-pound weight loss journey that I did on my own. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of that. And I don't say that because I diss anybody else that chooses other options, not at all, because whatever choice you choose is the choice that's important for you and it's the right choice for you. But I knew for me, I had to do the hard work to get there and do it on my own accord in order for me to appreciate it and to have long-lasting results. What I didn't expect is that I would actually lose 220 pounds and completely transform my life and become someone that stood on stages and that spoke to thousands of women, that spoke and did interviews on a podcast or had my own podcast, or that I would lead women into their transformations. I never thought that that would occur, but because I chose to love myself and to go through the healing work that I have given myself the ability to go through, it's opened up my journey to becoming who I am today.
Yeah. I your story is so powerful, and I thank you for starting. I guess at the at the beginning with this moment where you were really at a point where the end felt like the only option. And thank you for just being so transparent and vulnerable to share that with us, that kind of breaking point, which I think sometimes those breaking points are like our breakthrough points, but we don't always realize it in the moment, you know. Um, but the fact that you've been able to make such a full transformation in your life from them through the act of love, I think is so powerful and so hard. It's when you struggle with self-love, which is I resonate with so many parts of your story. I really, really do. I have my own story along those lines of just not feeling like enough. And I think
Mm,
that's so programmed into us in this society in general. And then even more so with women around body
yeah,
stuff, right? Like, no matter how beautiful and lovely and wonderful you are, there's someone somewhere or a magazine or a movie or a song or what telling you you're not enough, that something should be
yes,
different, that you're broken in some way, that you need something to fix you or to make you more beautiful. And until you've reached some
mm,
X state, you're not enough. And that just makes it so much worse and so hard to overcome it because no matter how much you change, you can still hate yourself. No matter how thin you are, you can still feel very dissatisfied.
yes.
No matter how beautiful, you can feel very much unworthy. So it's never about our bodies or the way that we look, but that's where we project all of that anger. So I just think your story is so resonant, and I'm
Thank
grateful
you.
for you for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah. And I love that I want to speak to a very strong point that you made there in saying that you reach this point that you think is where you're enough or you've made it. And it's not. It doesn't land. It doesn't feel like enough. And what I mean by that is I've been a weight loss coach for just about 12 years now, and I still am in the space of weight loss. I will always be a weight loss coach. I mean, it's just I have to be because it's my passion and it's my journey. However, when you set a goal of losing, we'll just stick with weight, but this applies to anything in life, say 60 pounds. We think that when we see that 60-pound marker that indicates we made it, that everything will feel right in our world. Everything will feel right in our body and in our mind and in our soul, and we'll no longer have the struggles that we've been struggling with. And it never happens that way. And it didn't happen that way for me either. I'd lost 220 pounds and I was this woman that had a body that I never believed I would ever had it. I had a friend that said, just face it, you're never going to be a size 4. It's never going to happen for you. I got to a size 4 and I still was not happy in my body. I still was not happy with who I was. I was still struggling with all these insecurities and believing that I wasn't good enough. And so then I stepped on the stage as a bodybuilder and went into building muscle and getting my body to this place of absolute divine love, like obsessed with muscle, loving how strong I was and feeling this confidence standing in 5-inch heels and this bodybuilding bikini and posing and having judges judge you and earning first place and still believing. I remember walking out of that arena with a first place trophy thinking, how am I going to become enough? Like it was already
Mm.
going into the future about what I could do next to finally be enough. I'd went from being 338 pounds, deemed morbidly obese by the medical field, to having 10% body fat, earning a first place trophy in a bodybuilding competition in competition against other women, and I still didn't think I was enough, which
Mm.
is why the healing is so important and your podcast bringing this awareness is so vital because that awareness is where we have to start to actually make the shift where we realize we are enough regardless of how we look or what our life looks like or the accomplishments that we've made or where we put ourselves on a scale from 1, 2, 3 to 10 compared to somebody else.
Yeah. I that's such a powerful image. I could just see like you standing on the stage and getting this medal. And I think from people from the outside, they see that and they think, oh, she has it all and she must be
Mm,
happy now. And she's come so far and she must be so proud and she must feel so good. We tell ourselves these stories when we see other people in
yeah.
these spaces, and there's so often, more often than not, that internal struggle of still not feeling enough. And I know that your personal journey is it's the foundation for the work that you do now with women and the speaking and all of the amazing work that you're doing in the world. So I'm curious how you had the weight loss journey and that kind of started, it kick-started this health and healing process for you and this empowerment of knowing you had a choice, and yet there was still this worthiness story that wasn't quite finished. What did it look like for you to start to come into like true self-love, true internal worthiness? Because I know it's a long road.
It felt like forever. It felt like I was on a constant journey of getting there and feeling like I was never going to get there. It just when I think back to where I started to where I am now, sometimes I have to stop and I have to ask like where did it start? Because I feel like it hasn't, it never ended and
Yeah.
I get a little clouded. So I honestly, it started at the beginning of worth, of really trying, but that wasn't my focus. My focus was just getting my body to where I wanted it to be. And it was loving myself is where I started. And so I wasn't realizing that love and worth and I really didn't know what worth was. I didn't have that like in my radar of thoughts of self-worth, of self-love. And that started from when I was 8 years old and finding that my dad was not my dad. And it was an 8 year long family secret that had been kept from me, and that I had a biological dad that had wanted me aborted upon finding about me when my mom was pregnant. And I was abandoned by him. Later met him when I was 12, and then abandoned by him again when he died of cancer when I was 15. Now, of course, he didn't purposely abandon me, but I felt abandoned by him after I vulnerably opened up and I met him and I fell in love with my dad, of being the dad that I always knew was missing because something was missing in my life. And to have him leave again was like being re-abandoned. And so starting there, I really had no idea what worth was because I was always trying to fit in or be good enough or not be abandoned. That was my primary focus, of not being abandoned by anybody in my life. And I had a very big fear, a lot of trauma around that. And so for me to think about worth, again, it just wasn't in anywhere of my vocabulary or radar. And so going through most of my years, I was very much in masculine energy of just do, survive and do what needs to be done, show up, be good enough, and make sure that you're making everybody else happy so everybody else accepts you. And I've always was in the state of getting things done. My husband now, so I divorced and then married my husband. We've been married now, it'll be 12 years. And he calls me the yes girl because people would just say, you know what? I think you should open a gym. And I'd say, or I'm sorry, the okay girl. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I would do it. And then somebody said, I think you should open a smoothie shop. I'm like, okay. So I start looking for smoothie shops. And then somebody else said, I think you should start an online weight loss program. Okay. So I just start like anything that was going to get me liked and accepted and make sure people were happy with me. And it all came to a head about 5 years ago when I decided I didn't want to be part of a network marketing company that I had been with since it was 2015 when I joined it. And I was with them for a number of years, and things started to go south with the company, and it wasn't in alignment with my morals. They were asking us to lie. And so I started to step back and I continued to stay in it. 5 years ago, I was terminated, and I was terminated from the company because I was not following suit with what they wanted me to do. And that moment of having fear placed upon me, thinking that everything was going to fall out, the world was coming to an end, I was never going to make it, I'd lost the only, like, I'd been terminated, I'd officially been rejected and abandoned.
Mhm.
And that brought me to my knees. And what I did as a response was decided that I was going to fight back in my own way of proving to myself, not a single soul, nobody else, that I was not going to abandon myself.
Mm.
And so I started to increase the amount of like clientele that I was taking in my own business. I stopped playing small because I was always being told I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that because I was with this network marketing company. And so after the termination was done, I saw that I had freedom, freedom to be me, freedom to choose me. And that's where the worth started to come because I
Mm.
realized that my worth was not being met when I was with this company because I was living by their terms. I was living by their expectations, and my worth was not being at all met. I wasn't seeing my self-worth and I wasn't meeting my worth. And so after that termination letter showed up and I took a couple days to just bring myself and ground myself, I started to really come into who I was, what my voice was, what I wanted, where I wanted to go with my business. And that's where things started to shine. And I started to realize just what my worth was and that I didn't need anybody else to be worthy. I didn't need anybody else to be successful. I didn't need somebody else to tell me that it was good enough. I could do that all on my own. And it was me showing up for myself and choosing me and doing what I wanted to do and speaking my truth and not looking externally to somebody else to give me the permission that I could show up in life as who I wanted to be. So honestly, at the age of 41, I finally realized who Tara Wiskow is.
Mm.
And I began to truly lead authentically without the guidance or the permission of anybody in my life.
It's so interesting how sometimes those moments that feel like everything, like our worst fears are coming true, this abandonment story is coming true, your livelihood is suddenly at risk, and in the moment it can feel like, oh no, like I'm in a nightmare. And turns out like that was the moment that really unlocked the doors for you to. I loved your language around this. You said being able to see your worth and meet your worth. And I just think that's so fitting because your worth was always there, but if you weren't seeing it, you weren't meeting it, you weren't greeting it, you weren't really present with it, then there's this disconnect, right? Like we feel this unworthiness and we're constantly striving for the thing that it's already in there. We're already worthy. But I just love your language around that. And it's so interesting the way that you came to that after all of the hardship and challenge and struggle and accomplishment and real progress, that moment of losing the job was the moment where stuff really started to heal.
Right. It is always interesting the through line that will bring you home to yourself. And usually it is those moments where life just feels like it's lost everything, at the expense of somebody else. Always, I think, is where, not always, but so often I feel that's where we really are grounded into our worth is when our pain is at the expense of somebody else
Mm.
and it's brutal enough to really make us start to question why we're allowing people to treat us the way they're treating us.
Yeah. Yeah, those moments where like the wind gets knocked out of you metaphorically and it's like, wait a second. I'm intentionally I'm in this situation on purpose, or I've played some role in this, and like actually there is another choice. There's another door, there's another path, there's another option that we just didn't see, we were blind to, or we were looking away from for whatever reason, self-protective reasons usually, like good intentioned self-protection defense mechanisms that our lovely minds like to put in place that just don't always serve us very well.
That's so true. So true. Also known as our comfort zone.
Yes.
Mm.
So, through all of these like life transformations that you personally went through, and we haven't even gotten to all of them, but I know that you've had major identity shifts and that's now something that's a big part of your work with people and how you serve. How do you define identity shifting in terms of healing? Where do you see that relationship?
The relationship is really self-discovery. I love the statement, you don't know what you don't know. And the reason why I love that is how do you heal when you don't even know who you are? When you are living behind so many different identities. And when I say that, it is like going to the circus. If you've ever been to a shrine circus and you've watched the individual spinning plates, we, especially women, are so talented that we can live behind multiple identities. What identity does our spouse, our partner, our significant other, what identity do they wish for us to live behind or to show up as? What identity do we need to make sure that our children are taken care of? What identity do we need to have with our mom or our sisters or family? What identity do we need for our in-laws? What identity do we need in order to show up to work or with our friends group? There are so many different identities that we women believe that we have to live behind because we put ourselves in pockets of acceptance. I have to be her to be good enough here. I have to be her to be good enough here, and so on and so forth. And that becomes different identities that we live behind. And I say we're talented because that takes a lot of talent to keep all those identities straight and to know when you walk into this room, this is how you walk in. And it's rare for us women that are really, really good at this to ever put the wrong mask on with the wrong people. Very rare that we ever do that. So when you know that you need to begin healing, you have to know who you are underneath all those identities. Because if you begin to heal who you are in this space, and that's not who you authentically are. That is not who you truly are. You're not speaking your truth. You're not thinking your own thoughts or feeling your own feelings. You're not projecting yourself out as you truly would if you were on your own by yourself and nobody was watching. That's not healing who you truly are. That's healing a fake version of you. And
Mm.
when we heal a fake version, we're not getting to the core of the healing that needs to be done. And that actually confuses us even more because we do this healing work and we think to ourselves, but I'm doing everything. I'm doing all the things and nothing's changing. All the things are being done at these surface level identities that are not our truest version of ourselves. And you spoke to it earlier, Kayla, when you said disconnected.
Mm.
We become so disconnected from ourselves, we no longer know who we are. We don't know what makes us tick. We don't know what makes us upset. We don't know what makes us happy. We don't know what our true love language is, or our desired foods, or our restaurant that we'd like to go to, or a vacation, or what the hell's a bubble bath, right? Like we don't even know. And so when it comes to healing and identity shifting, we need to shift out of being who we think we have to be and come home to who we truly desire to be, who we know at our heart of hearts that we want to be, because every single one of us knows who we wants to show up. She is who lays in bed at night and silently cries.
Mm.
She is the one that gets lost in wonder or in daydreaming, and she's wishing. She's a woman that sits on the park bench and watches the other woman that looks so happy and looks like she has her life entirely together. And she's wondering, how do I get there? That's who you are at your core. That is you speaking. And we need to get you home to her by shifting through all those identities and becoming you and shifting into your truth.
Mm.
That's where we can truly begin to heal you.
I love the way that you describe this like layering process of it's almost making me think like fragmentation to wholeness. Like that's the imagery that I'm getting as I'm like imagining like we have all of these compartmentalized pieces of ourselves and I yeah, you're right. It does take a lot of talent and a lot of energy. It's exhausting, right? And trying to
Yes.
be different people everywhere we're at in every different space and the people pleasing that comes with that and the way that you feel so unknown by others because nobody really knows the real you because you're showing up as who you think they want you to be in all of these settings. And I very viscerally understand this experience because I was very much there at one point in my life when you were speaking to, not knowing, even what you like. I remember not knowing what kind of music I listened to because the people around me, I listened to the music they listened to. I didn't know what kind of movies I liked. I would read the books that other people recommended. Like I didn't know. I had to figure that out, in my mid 20s. I was lucky enough, I guess, to have a crisis fairly early in my young adult life. But it was a hard time to go through that unveiling, unraveling process of, okay, who are we actually? Like tear it all down, get to the core. And I love the way that you talk to the yearning that's often there. Like
Yeah.
that yearning for more, that wanting, like that's like this soul calling and that's who we really are. And it's like calling us home. Like drop all
Yes.
the facades. Like I'm right here.
Yes, yes. And so often we feel guilty because we want more. We feel like that we're selfish or we're ungrateful or inconsiderate. And we try to tell ourselves negative positivity. It's like we tell ourselves that we should just be happy with what we have, right? Like and then we berate ourselves and cut ourselves down for not being grateful. And that's just a process of numbing ourselves to our true feelings and emotions. And that I think is honestly why we have such an unhealthy society is we're not feeling our true emotions and we're numbing them, we're using some sort of a numbing device, whether it's your phone, whether it's food. That was mine. Food never disappointed me, ever. It showed up when I wanted it. It tasted exactly as I knew it was going to taste, and it always filled every single bucket of need that I needed. So food becomes our choice of numbing out. It could be gambling, it could be shopping, it could be sex, it could be self-harm. There's all these things that we do in order to shut ourselves up so we stop feeling and we stay in that identity of being who doesn't feel right.
Mm.
And I love that you talk about what you said about not even knowing your music or like the things that you like. I remember that. And I remember feeling so dumb. Like how can I not know this? All of
Mhm.
my friends are talking so confidently, and now I wonder if they really were confidently or they just had a really good like
Right.
they were really good at pretending. But I had no idea how to answer those questions. Or the one time I was filling out a resume and they wanted to know my hobbies. I didn't know what my hobbies were. Like I was listing fishing, hunting, like all things, cooking, quilting. What? Like, I mean, seriously, I love fishing and hunting, but it wouldn't be a hobby that I'm going to choose to do just right, just 'cause.
Right.
But I had no idea. So I was picking what
You're like,
people,
these are things I've done.
that's what everybody says that we're supposed to do. So I guess this is what my hobby is because
Yeah.
that's what they say, right?
Yeah. It's so interesting because I feel like I'm like revisiting my, I don't know, 23, 24-year-old self in this conversation. But I remember for me the way that I did this thing with identity and kind of trying to match up to these different environments, the hardest part internally in my experience was that I didn't believe anybody loved me or could because they didn't know me, because they only knew the version of me that I was showing them, which was really just a reflection of the things they liked. And so
Yeah.
I felt so alone.
And did you fear that if they ever found out who you really were, then they wouldn't want anything to do with you? And
Oh,
that's why,
yeah.
yeah.
100%. It was
Yeah.
like, well, who could love an empty shell, you know? Like I didn't I didn't know what to grab onto. I was just like drifting, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I'm glad that you share that because I know that you and I are not the only ones that struggle with that. And even though we're past that, there are women, there are listeners, there are men that are in it right now, and they need to know. They need to know that we've been there and that we've gotten out of it. And if we can do it, they can do it.
Yes. Yeah, you can move through it and it's funny because the way I related to myself then, um, now I can see the threads of me that have always been there in looking back. Like I can see the things I did like. I just was disconnected from them at the time. I can see the things that did excite me or the little remnants from my childhood of what lit me up. Like I can see it now, but when I was in that space, I had no idea, you know? So like there,
Yeah.
those things are there. Like we're in there.
Yes,
We're
yes,
always in
always.
there.
Always. We never leave. We never there is truth that part of our soul will defragment. And that means it goes out into our energetic field, our aura, which we're really going deep into talking about the spiritual space. So I won't go too deep. But when we experience something that's really traumatic, and it doesn't just have to be death, it doesn't have to be a tragic experience of loss. It can be being bullied, it can be being picked last or not picked at all in the first grade on the playground. Things like that, when we experience something that's very traumatic to us at that time, a part of our soul will defragment from us and go off into our energetic field, and we're not whole. And it does that in order to protect us and doesn't come back until it feels safe that it won't be re-injured. And so when we go through, if we don't do the healing work and if we just continue to wander and continue to stay in that state of doing what we've always done and continue to put ourselves in situations that mirror what caused that piece of our soul to leave us, it'll always stay off in the distance because it's protecting you and it's not allowing it to come back. Your soul's saying, I can't go through that again. Once we heal, and allow ourselves to come home to ourselves and it feels safe, it begins to make its journey back to us. And just like that missing puzzle piece that stays underneath our couch for years, and all of a sudden we do deep cleaning and find it, and we're like,
Oh, there it
oh,
is.
here we go. There's the thousandth piece that I haven't been able to find for 6 years. That's the journey of us coming home to ourselves through healing.
That's such a beautiful perspective. I don't think I've heard it framed in that way before, but it makes perfect sense. I spend a lot of my time in like the Jungian psychology realm and like shadow, and I think of that as kind of like a parallel, right? Like these pieces of ourselves that are divorced or fragmented or disowned or separate until there's safety for reintegration. And it's yeah,
Yep.
it sounds like a similar process, but speaking more like metaphysically versus like psychologically. You know, we have all these frameworks to help us make sense of this healing process.
Yes, and probably my explanation is very basic compared to your very professionally known. Like, uh,
I like to read. I read a lot. So
that's
sometimes
good.
yeah, I mean yeah, it's great, but there's so much information out there and I think it's funny sometimes the way that we absorb information. And I do this and I love it. I'm a big learner. And like our experiences, our lived experiences, our lived knowing, like that is
Yeah.
the truth, right? Like we're
Yes.
sometimes we get a little silly with all of the information and data collecting. Like we know a lot if we just look within.
Yes. If we just trust rather than look outside of ourselves for the answers, like believe
Yes.
and trust ourselves.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly. So, oh my gosh, this is such a good conversation. I'm just loving this whole deep excavation of the worth and healing and self-love process. But I want to talk a little bit because I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh, I have so many things I want to cover with you. But I want to talk a little bit about your program because I think the three steps or phases that you talked to me about when we first connected were so powerful and interesting. And I think they could be really supportive to the listeners when they're thinking about what does this look like for them? Because it kind of puts it into a framework to understand how you can move through this healing journey. So, do you want to share with us the three steps and kind of what might happen in each of those?
Yes, I would love to. Oh my gosh, this is my wheel of passion for sure. So it's my signature three-part step that I've developed in putting my program She Rises together. And She Rises is a 6-month journey for women to really truly come home to themselves and love themselves unapologetically and live authentically. And in order to do that, the very first step that they have to go through is to unravel. And when we unravel, another way to look at it is we unbecome. We unravel from who we've always been. Because if who we are right now is out of alignment, it's not authentically us, it's creating more of what we don't want, then we stay in this cycle of insanity of continuously having more and more and more of what we don't desire. So we have to, just like a computer system that we are redoing, we have to clean the system out. We have to clear it out. We have to clean our slate. And so often we believe that when we come into the world and we're this infant, that we have this very clean, we'll just say mirror, that this baby is born with this mirror that has no imperfections, no fingerprints, nothing. That is not true. We are born with prints. We're imprinted. If you believe in past lives, things that we've had in past lives come into this lifetime. If you believe in things being passed down generationally, they come to us generationally. Things that are imprinted from things that our parents have said, our caregivers, teachers, friends, things that have happened to us are imprinted. Energy that we take on, all these things are clearing or are muddying up our mirror, and it's causing us to function and show up in the way that we are. These are how we respond. These are the beliefs that we have, the limiting beliefs, the negative emotions, all the things that we're doing every single day that are taking us down a deeper level of disconnect from ourselves. We have to unravel from that. So, in that first phase, we are really going through extracting all those things out. Doing meditations, I'm doing visualizations, I'm doing healings, we're releasing energy, we're balancing chakras, we're shifting our language. We're taking the things that we say and we're shifting them into positive affirmations. So if your statement is, life always sucks for me, well, if you think you can or you think you don't, you're right. So we need to shift that and we need to start speaking differently. We learn how to unbecome the feelings we have in our body so that we can go into step two, which is the upgrade part of it. Now, before I talk about upgrade, I want to say that almost every single woman who has went through the unravel stage has stood before me or sat before me and said, I feel like I don't even know who I am.
Mm.
And that has fear ridden through them. And me, I am jumping for joy
Like,
because if
yes.
you now are like, I don't even know who I am, I'm like, oh, yes, we did it.
Perfect.
We did it because this is where we want to get you. We want you to get to this clean, very like I just clean version of you that doesn't have any of these thoughts, beliefs, or feelings where we've cleared you.
Yeah,
So
all
then
the
we go.
conditioning. Yeah.
Yes, and the programming. We've taken the
Yes.
programming out. Now we move into the upgrade. When we're moving into the upgrade, it's really taking us in the direction of where we want to get to. Who do we want to be? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are you striving for? This is where things start to get exciting because once we've taken out what we've always believed, that programming, that conditioning, all of a sudden we start seeing what's possible for us. So now we have to start building that foundation of creating that. So it's the habits, it's the thoughts, it's the meditations, it's the different strategies and the processes that are available to us. It's again the language. I talk about language all the time. It's how you talk about yourself. It's about embodying your future self as her right this moment, right now. Become her right now. So you begin to be her and show up as her in this upgrade phase. So it's and again back to the computer, it's actually upgrading. It's putting in a new programming. We've now
Mhm.
put in a new program, a new way of showing up. And so we've got these beautiful glistening habits that are new to you, but they feel really, really good. And they're allowing you to come home to you, to really start to speak your own language and to walk your own walk and talk your own talk and feel your own feelings and set up these start of boundaries. We also talk about going from 3D thinking or living to 5D. When you're in the 3D, you're in full victim, like nothing ever works out. That's where we're like before we unravel. It's in the process of unravel. We're very much in that life is always out to get me and nothing good ever happens to me. And then we go into the 4D. So when we're in the upgrade, we're in the 4D. This is we're in between 3D and 5D. We're very wishful, but we're wishy-washy. We can slip back into the 3D, but we quickly come back into the 4D, but we never get to the 5D. But we want to get to the 5D. We're hoping to. That's where we're at. Now, when we move into the up level, when we get into the last phase, and that up level is absolutely bringing it all home, and it's adding the silver lining to what already has been implemented there. And this is where the women start to come in even more with their desires and with their wants. And it's going even deeper. It's dreaming broader. It's really bringing you into the state of knowing that anything you desire is yours. It is full on up leveling you to the highest version of yourself and not allowing any thoughts, any beliefs, anything stopping you. And this is also where we have full implementation of boundaries. We understand what boundaries are really meant for in our life and that they're actually for us, not to keep people out. It's actually for the protection of ourselves. They're meant for ourselves. And so we go through that up level and just like again the computer system, it's we've upgraded the programming. Now what can we add to it to make it function and operate better? That's what we do for ourselves as well. So now we're at our highest level of operating in our life.
I just love hearing you speak about these, and I can like feel your excitement, your energy, and your passion. And I love this for so many reasons, but one of my favorite things is that you include the unravel stage, this like falling apart kind of stage on
Yeah.
purpose, right? Because I think
Yes.
so many of us who have been on a healing journey, like that tends to happen, and then you start to do the other stuff, and like you kind of have this coming apart and this destruction and this like dark night of the soul and the pain and the agony and the grief and the I don't know who I am. Like that tends to happen like on this path, right? But you've
Yes.
structured it in so that people can unravel safely in a
Yes.
supportive container and do the work on purpose of wiping clean all of the programming that people didn't choose for themselves but are living in so that then they can move into that self-authorship and write the program that they want to be living. And how empowering to move through that and to have the support while you're in the unraveling, I think is also really powerful. Like you don't have to do that alone because it often is a very isolating experience when it happens just
Yes.
spontaneously.
Right? And I implemented, I love that you say that. I implemented it because every single time that you're going through a transformation, you always have to unravel. Regardless, you have to unravel. And so often, or most times, it's never implemented in it. And so you naturally go through the unraveling, but you don't understand what's happening. You don't know why you're feeling what you're feeling, and nobody's speaking to it. And I want to hold space for my women, and I want to be there in the muck. I want to jump into the middle of that mud and that yuck and that grossness, and I want to be immersed in it with them, and I want to hold their hands, and I want to let them scream. I want to let them cry. I want to let them get it all out because I want them to know that this is okay. This is them truly letting go of everything that has been holding them back. And I need to let them feel safe doing that. And in doing that, this is where I know the true transformations happen because we've done that unraveling and that breaking and allowing ourselves to be free of it to then go through the rest of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, and they get this supportive, reflective presence in you. Like I can, like when you were talking about when women come to you and they say, I don't even know who I am anymore, and it's like this terrifying moment, and you're like, ooh, it's about to get really good. I have those moments with my coaching clients too, where it's like, they're having these deep revelations that are maybe painful, or there's grief, or
Mm.
there's like a letting go and a saying goodbye. And it is hard. But so as once you've gone through it enough times and you've seen enough people through that, like, ooh, it's about to get really good. Like this is a
Yes.
necessary pain that's part of this process. But I think when people see that reflection in you and they see that hope and they can see that even though I'm feeling scared right now, like Tara knows that something better is waiting for me, that I'm on my way. It makes it feel so much less hopeless in that moment, right? Like suddenly you're
Yes.
hopeful. Yeah.
Yes. And in fact, one of my clients, I'll just share, I know our time is coming to the end, but one of my clients reached out and she said, I've been watching Hallmark movies, which is a great thing because she's always held back emotion. So before she would never
Mm.
watch it because she wouldn't cry. So the
Oh,
fact that she's now watching Hallmark movies, this is a win because she's allowing herself to feel emotion. So this is big to me. And she said, when I'm watching it, I'm wishing that I could have that life and be that woman. I had goosebumps instantly, and I
mm.
went back and I said, I know how you feel. This is how I felt when I was going through the tough moments. But what I found is I was actually becoming aware of how I wanted my life to look. And this is big. I told her, I said, this is big because you're becoming aware of what you want. So don't shut this down. Don't see this as a negative. See this as a celebration because it's a breakthrough. It's a coming through to know. You now know what you want, and you've not known what you wanted for decades. You are coming home to yourself. And I love being able to resonate and connect and bring them through it because I've been there. And it's a blessing that I've been there and I get to guide them through it.
That just gave me goosebumps, like hearing her her story. And you're right, that is so powerful, like unlocking two emotions, but then that reflection from you of saying like, oh my gosh, how wonderful that you are starting to have some idea of want, of desire, of what you want in your life. Like that's so powerful because when we don't know where we're going. We're aimless. We're not directed, you know.
Exactly. So very true. You have such a
Ah.
beautiful way of putting the words together, and I just love listening to you. So thank you.
I love listening to you. This has been so much fun. I I feel like this has gone everywhere I could have wanted it to go and more. And yet there are so many things that I feel like we could talk about. So with the last couple of minutes, I just want to open it up to you and ask, is there anything that you really want to share with the audience that you didn't get to, or maybe any practical pieces of advice or wisdom for people who might be listening who are maybe in some of the hard parts right now?
Yeah, I would love to. First of all, I'm going to say that we oftentimes that there's something wrong with us when things aren't going the way that we want to. And it's not a character flaw that you're not getting where you want to. It's honestly probably a trauma response, and it could very well, the four are fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and one of those could be why you're not getting where you want to. There's such a multitude of possibilities, and we're all different and diverse, and we all have a different story. So I can't speak to why. I just can say that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken and you don't need to be fixed. And so when I talk about healing to anyone and they come to me and they say there's something wrong with me, I instantly say there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. And that the only thing that's missing in your life is you. That's it. And it's you coming home to you and being aware of who you are and what you desire and allowing yourself to fully accept yourself so that you can become who you want to be. And I think one of the greatest ways to begin doing that is to listen to yourself. And IFS is internal family systems. It's a parts program. It's such a powerful way to really begin to hone into your voice and who you are and allow yourself to listen to you rather than externally ask for guidance or permission. Start listening to yourself. And one way that I found to do this with my very crazy, overactive, energetic mind, if you've not picked up on that at all, is calming my central nervous system, or just bringing it down, and it's putting one hand on my chest over that heart chakra, the other right on my belly, right over that solar plexus. And as soon as I do that, all of a sudden I just feel my body floating down, and I'm just relaxing, and I'm coming home, and I know, whew, I'm safe instantly. And then the next thing I want you to do is just close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, and then exhale through your mouth. And then I want you to just ask, what feeling, what emotion am I feeling right now in my body? Right now I feel just nervousness is coming forward. Don't judge it, don't question it, don't stop it, just let it come forward. And I want to know, where do I feel this nervousness? And for whatever reason, I feel it in my ankles. And I'm not going to question it or judge it. I'm just going to say, okay. And then I'm going to ask it, like, what do you need me to know? And then allow whatever's coming forward. Like, what does that feeling need you to know? And what's coming forward is that this interview really matters to me, and I'm really wanting to reach you because you matter. And I want to make sure that my words are clearly hitting home and landing where they need to land. And that's, I'm nervous that they've not. And then I ask myself, what do you need from me in order for you to feel safe? So I just want to know what this nervousness needs in order to feel safe. And it brings me to tears, is self-trust, and know that you've done it all, you've said it all, and you've given your all, and that's all that needs to be done in order for the message to land exactly where it needs to land. And just taking a breath in and out. And when I do that, it brings me home to know, wow, I I nailed this. I did this. I did everything that I could, and I feel really, really confident about our time together, Kayla. And just that experience right there closed that for me versus ignoring that emotion and allowing myself to go through the rest of the evening feeling this feeling and not knowing what it is. And then it would just lead to another emotion and another emotion. And then they get out of control and we become dysregulated. This just regulated my emotions, and I feel so good. That would
Uh,
be what I'd leave with you and your listeners.
that brought me to tears a little bit. I love that you didn't just give us a suggestion of a practice, but you lived through and led through that practice for yourself and modeled like what this can look like and how we can show up and listen to this wisdom within ourselves at any given moment, in any given day, no matter what we're doing. Like it's always there, but you have to stay with it. You have to listen to it. You have to let it nourish you, teach you, bring you home.
Yes,
Cool.
yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If people want to stay connected with you, I want to invite you to share where people can find you.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the socials, the Facebook, and because I'm old, Facebook is still
I still have Facebook.
I know, I'm just kidding. Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, because woo, we're going places. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But the best place to honestly find me on all those socials, the easiest for me to give you is just my website. Go there and you will really get to know who I am and be able to connect with me on all my socials there. Also, I have a couple of freebies on my website that I'd love for you to check out. One is a guide, and another is a four-part video series that helps you to step into your confidence and begin attracting in the life that you desire. So my website is www.tara, and then the little dash sign as if you were writing out a telephone number. So dash Wiskow.com, and I'll make sure that you have that if you don't mind dropping it in the show notes as well.
Yes, I will definitely put it in the show notes. Thank you so much. This has been so amazing. Such an honor, such a beautiful conversation. And to everyone who is listening, I hope this has been as nourishing for you as it has been for me. And I hope that you take something powerful, something that stirred your soul or your mind or lit up like a spark of desire in your heart for what might be possible for you, and you follow that thread and just taking that first step and listening to what might be there and be with it and don't shut it down. That's that's what I'm asking that you take from this time today, make it real into your life, and check out all these free resources available and connect with Tara so that you can continue this exploration. And yeah, just make this real in your life. It's been such a joy. Thank you for everyone who's listening. I hope that you loved this. Please share it if you know someone who needs this, who struggled with self-worth, who is currently struggling or going through challenge. Please gift them this episode and make sure that you share it far and wide so we can spread this message. It's been an honor. Take care of yourselves, and we will talk soon.
Thank you for listening. If this episode spoke to you, please take a moment to follow, rate, and share it with someone who might need it. If you're looking for more tools to help you thrive in your life, or if you're curious about working with me, please visit my website at internallyguidedleadership.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok at Internally Guided Coach. Be gentle with yourself out there, and I'll talk to you next time.